There's something interesting about tea. Not just the taste, not the caffeine, not even the tradition. It's the way tea changes the atmosphere around it. A kettle begins to warm. Water starts to move. Steam rises. A cup is prepared carefully, almost instinctively. And for a few moments, life slows down. Not dramatically, not all at once, just enough. And maybe that's why tea has mattered to people for thousands of years. Not simply because it's a beverage, but because it creates space. Space to think. Space to notice. Space to breathe. Welcome to TeaMinded. I'm glad you're here. This podcast is about tea, but also about the things surrounding tea. Ritual, craftsmanship, attention, culture, conversation, and the quiet ways simple things shape our lives. And I thought the best place to begin was with a simple question. Why is tea more than a drink? Most of us live at a relentless pace. Notifications, meetings, scrolling, noise, constant movement. Even our moments of rest often become another form of stimulation. And somewhere along the way, many of us stopped having rituals. Not routines. We still have routines. But rituals are different. A routine helps you get something done. A ritual helps you pay attention. Tea has always carried that quality. You can rush coffee. You can drink it in the car. Grab it on the way somewhere else. Consume it while distracted. Tea tends to resist that. Not entirely. Of course, people drink tea casually every day. But good tea, thoughtfully prepared, asks something of you. Patience, attention, presence. You wait for the water. You consider temperature. You steep carefully. You notice aroma. You slow down enough to taste. And in doing so, something subtle happens. Tea becomes less about consumption and more about participation. Across cultures, tea has rarely been treated as just a beverage. In Japan, tea became deeply connected to aesthetics, hospitality, and mindfulness. In China, tea culture evolved alongside philosophy, poetry, and scholarship. In Britain, tea became tied to conversation and social ritual. In Morocco, tea is hospitality itself. And even today, in small tea shops around the world, there's often a different atmosphere than in other places. Quieter, more intentional, more human. Tea seems to invite conversation rather than interruption. I think many people are searching for that feeling right now. Not necessarily tea itself, but what tea represents. A slower rhythm, a return to physical experience, a break from constant digital noise. Maybe that's one reason younger generations are rediscovering things once considered old-fashioned. Vinyl records, film photography, journaling, handwritten letters, artisan crafts. These things require participation, and tea belongs in that world. Because tea is tactile. You feel the warmth of the cup. You hear the kettle. You smell the leaves before you taste them. You notice seasons differently. Morning feels different from evening. Winter tea feels different from summer tea. Tea reconnects people to physical reality in a very grounded way. I also think tea teaches something important about attention. Good tea cannot be rushed indefinitely. At some point, you either slow down or you miss the experience entirely. And maybe that's true about life, too. There are moments we only notice when we stop moving long enough to see them. Steam rising in morning light, rain against a window, conversation across a table, silence, reflection. Tea doesn't create those moments, but it makes room for them. One of the things I love most about tea is that it's both simple and endlessly deep. At the surface level, it's leaves and water. But behind every cup is geography, climate, craftsmanship, history, tradition, human hands. Someone planted those tea bushes. Someone harvested those leaves. Someone processed them carefully. Someone preserved knowledge across generations. Tea connects people across time and place in a surprisingly intimate way. And the deeper you go into tea culture, the more you realize tea is really about care. Care in preparation, care in sourcing, care in hospitality, care in craftsmanship. That care changes the experience. And I think that's why tea continues to matter in a culture obsessed with speed. Because tea quietly pushes back. It reminds us that not everything meaningful should be optimized. Some things are valuable precisely because they take time. If you're new to tea, you don't need expensive equipment. You don't need expertise. You don't need to memorize tea regions or processing methods. You just need a willingness to slow down a little. Boil water. Choose a tea intentionally. Sit for a few moments without multitasking. That alone can change the experience. As TeaMinded continues, we'll explore many sides of tea culture together. Different tea types, brewing methods, tea history, craftsmanship, teaware, specialty tea shops, and conversations with people deeply connected to the tea world. But underneath all of it is a larger idea. Tea is not just about what's in the cup. It's about the kind of life we're trying to build around it. Thank you for listening to this first episode of TeaMinded. If you enjoyed it, I'd love for you to follow the podcast and share it with someone who might appreciate a slower, more thoughtful approach to tea and daily life. And until next time, put the kettle on, slow down a little, and stay tea-minded.